Welcome to the full skinny fat protocol. This is 5 years, well, 5.5 years worth of knowledge put into one video. So I can make sure you can make sure that the next 2 years of your training are enough and optimized enough so you can get literally my physique in 2 years. Now, what is skinny fat? Firstly got to diagnose you with what is skinny fat. Skinny fat. Ooh, a bit thick over there. Let's make this a little bit smaller. But skinny fat is essentially when a person has a big belly, but it's not enough. It's not big enough for it to be like sticking out of shirts and stuff. But they have very thin arms. Now, it's probably the most unattractive build because you're not entirely skinny, so you don't have abs or anything, but you're also not fat, like overly fat, so you don't have like the size and power that comes with being fat. But you get the worst of both worlds. You get a belly, you get skinny arms, and you got a lot of face fat, so you don't actually even look that chiseled in the face. So what the hell do you do? So the first thing we got to go through, everyone asks this question, is should we either cut or bulk? Now, most people will say bulk, don't do it. Just don't do it. If you are going to watch this video, you should just blindly follow me. Do your research if you want, but if you want to like save a bit of your brain power, do everything I say in this video and I will promise you that you're going to change your body. We are going to go on a bit of a cut, and it's not the kind of cut that you expected to. Now, the goal of this protocol is for us to get as much results as fast as possible so we actually stay motivated. You might heard of the term as well called recomp, right? Now, recomp is definitely good. It allows you to build muscle a lot faster while you're trying to lose fats. But in this case, we want to be able to see the best of like at least one result so we stay motivated. With bulking, it takes a lot of time to actually build a muscle, whereas with cutting, it's a lot mentally harder, but you see the fruits of your labor a lot quicker. You see your abs coming in, and when you see those abs coming in, even though you probably just want bigger arms, bigger body, everything like that, the results of seeing those abs are gonna motivate you like nothing before to actually stay more consistent. This is especially helpful for the guys who have fallen off on their actual bodybuilding journey and like self improvement journey. So, because the point here is we can't really discipline our way through. You haven't even developed a habit of being disciplined, but we can rely on its motivation. So, the full cutting guide for 2-3 months, we are going to go on a cut, on a moderately cut. Now, you first have to figure out your total daily energy expenditure, which you can like find from literally searching a BMR calculator. Oh, I don't think it's showing on the screen, but search a BMR calculator online, put in the details, and go on the lower end of the spectrum just to be safe. For me, it says I burn probably 2,700 calories given what I do, but I don't think that's true. I don't think I'm actually burning that many calories because if I was, I would probably be losing a lot more fat. Go with the lower end, you'll be a lot safer that way. So now what you do, you figure out what your total daily energy expenditure is. For me, I figured out mine is 2,500 after testing that a lot. I am going to subtract 500 of it initially. So this is how many calories that we are going to be consuming per day. Now, we need to understand, okay, 500 calorie deficit, not too bad, you'll be losing fat, but how much fat exactly? We need to understand that in a kilogram of fat, you have 7,700 calories, right? 1 kilogram of fat. Now, if we are in a 500 calorie deficit for 7 days, that is roughly 3,500 calories, which when you divide a kilogram of fat by 2, you get somewhere close to between 3,750, right? Sorry, not 3,750, maybe a little bit higher, like 800, 900. But either way, it's like a 300-400 calorie deficit. Either way, you're burning roughly half a kilogram of fat a week. And if you do that for 2 weeks, times by 2, you're going to be burning roughly 7,000 calories, plus maybe a little bit of cardio that you do, extra cardio that you do, and that's going to be 1 kilogram of fat. pure fat. You need to understand that even if you are like quite overweight, you don't exactly have like all that much fat. You have a lot of fat, but most of the fat, when you do lose weight, most of that fat is a lot. You do have a lot of fat, but a lot of the weight that does drop down when you do lose weight is water weight, muscle glycogen, and all the other things that makes or gives you the illusion that you're losing a lot of weight when it really isn't the case. However, if we just stick to this principle that if we as long as we're in a 500 calorie deficit for 14 days, 2 weeks consistently, we are guaranteed to be burning 7,000 calories, which is a kilogram of fat. That is the most simple principle that you have to stick to. Now, how do you actually track your calories? What we do is we use any app like MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. And this is where you like log in your foods and everything. And the question is exactly, all right, Alien, you're telling us doing this calorie deficit. What do I eat? How much do I eat? Blah, blah, blah. Let's get to there. Let's get there. So let me give you guys, I'm going to put you on some elite bowl knowledge. Not many people will tell you this because it's too advanced, but if you're watching this video, I don't think you're an idiot, so you should be able to understand this pretty well. Now, let's say you're going to the gym 4 days a week, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And your daily average calories that you're consuming is roughly 2,000. And you go gym on, say, for example, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Now, with the amount of grams of protein that you should be consuming, find whatever your body weight is in kilograms and times that by roughly 1.5, like 1.8. For me, for example, if I weigh 60 kg, I'm going to multiply that by 1.5 or like, sorry, not 1.5, 1.8 to 2. That's the real metric. 1.8 is usually better range, but that brings me somewhere close to 105 grams. Honestly, if you're going on a now, when it comes to protein, you might be wondering, all right, how many grams of protein do I consume? A very simple answer is there's a lot of like new research being shown that you actually don't need much grams of protein when you're like building muscle and so on, which is true, don't get me wrong, but when we're on a cut, we need to preserve muscle mass as much as possible. So we actually do need more protein. And the way you figure out how much protein you need is that you convert your body weight into pounds, which is 135. And that is just how much protein you should be consuming. Simple as that. 135 grams of protein. Now, to figure out how many other grams of carbs and how many grams of fat you should be consuming, whatever your body weight is in kilograms, that's how many grams of fat you should be consuming. So, say for example, you might be wondering, okay, well, then how many grams of carbs? Let's get into it. Let me break down the logistics for you. In order to figure out how many macros you should be hitting consistently, we need to understand that in 1 gram of carbs, there is 4 calories, and the same with protein. Whereas in 1 gram of fats, there is 9 calories. So let's just do some basic addition here. You can ask ChatGPT for this stuff to make it a bit easier for you. But if you want to do this by yourself, that's completely fine. If we're having 135 grams of of protein, and we multiply that by 4, that's somewhere close to 550 calories. Make sense? 550 calories. And we're having 60 kilograms. If we're having 60 grams of fat, 60 times 9 is 540 calories. Wait, oops. Yeah, basically, we figured out the math either way. So 60 times by 9 is 540. Add these two numbers up together, you get 1090. Now, here's the really fun part. We want to be carb maxing throughout this entire process, actually. We subtract this amount of calories by our total calories, and we get somewhere close to 910. 910 calories of carbs is how many we should be consuming. And if you want to figure out exactly how many carbs that is, divide that by 4, and you get roughly, oh, my math isn't pretty good at the moment, but like close to 220 to like between 200 to 250 grams of carbs. Beautiful. Now you might hear a lot of like BS on the internet be like, "Oh, you don't actually need carbs. Carbs are bad. You know, like cut out carbs to like lose weight." And anyone who's a skinny neck retard who doesn't know what they're talking about, I will tell you from experience. Whenever I carb maxed, even though it probably made me a little bit stupid from the amount of carbs, my muscle building ability grew a lot. Everyone places so much emphasis on the protein, but really, you actually need a lot more carbs as well to just push harder in the gym and to actually replenish your muscles. This sounds like a little muscle like science stuff. Just skip the. If you don't want to listen to it, that's fine. But if you want to just get to straight to the answers, 200 to 250 grams of carbs. Again, this will be different depending on your body weight and so on. Now, how do we actually structure this in our day-to-day basis? So, obviously, on the days that we're resting, we're not going to be moving around as much. And so, one thing that I like to do, have less calories on those days where you're not eating. I will have 1800 calories, like 200 calories less, because if I'm not moving around as much, I'm generally just hungry. I'm not moving around. I'm not as hungry. So like, there's no point in me eating that much more. 1800, 1800. So we already created like a 600 calorie deficit further from doing that. Now, these extra 600 calories, you divide that by 4, that gives us with 150 calories. We're going to add on 150 calories to these Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So we get 2 150, 2 150, 2 150, and so on. Now you might be wondering, okay, what do we do with these extra calories, and where do we take the calories from the resting days from? Your carbs. Less carbs on training days, sorry, on non-training days, and more carbs on your training days. When you do this, you're managing your body a lot better. You're going to manage your water retention a lot better. On your training days, you're going to be feeling a lot more full and volume and less bloated on your non-training days. The more times you can optimize your training so that you're like feeling stronger and lifting heavier and looking good and not like a fat freaking Indian, you're going to actually stay motivated. That's the whole point of this. Because you are new to this, you need to understand that like everything you hear online about discipline, it does apply to you at the stage. But if I'm talking from personal experience, motivation was my biggest thing. I had to make myself motivated over and over and over and over again. I had to find different sources to make myself motivated. That may work for you. You may be the kind of person who's probably more disciplined than me, which is why this would work better for you. But either way, that's the nutrition side of things done. Now, what are some foods that you can actually have? I like to, everyone says rice and chicken, but let me break down a very easy breakfast that I like to have. See, typically I go to the gym. It also does depend on when you go to the gym. Let's say if you're like me and you go to the gym at the evening time and your morning time is spent doing work, productivity, or studying because you're at school and whatnot. I like to have zero carbs, little to no carbs during the breakfast, since that prevents me from getting that much brain fog. So what I have for breakfast to optimize my calories and my protein is 4 eggs plus mozzarella cheese, just cheese or whatever, or even like shredded cheese, and 2 turkey slices. Now this all does come down to roughly 500 calories and 50 grams of protein. Beautiful. How beautiful is that? Such a good breakfast, isn't it? 50 grams of protein for 500 calories, and the rest of that is going to be fat. There's no carbs in this meal, which is beautiful. Super easy to cook up. Now, with your other carbs and like with your other meals and stuff, it just depends on what you enjoy. Rice and chicken, rice and beef, potatoes, whatever the hell you want. There's so many recipes out there. I don't think you need advice on that. The only thing that I would suggest is before you train, 2 hours before you train, do not have any fats. And same with 3 to 4 hours before bed, no fats. Now, the reason why that is because science part here, skip the seconds if you don't want to listen to this. Fats are very hard to break down. Well, fats stay in our digestive system for quite a long time, and it does take slow down digestion, which makes you feel a lot more like bloated and not really exactly full, but just heavy in a sense. So when you avoid these fats, you're able to move around a lot better in the gym. And when your digestive system is active, you actually can't sleep. Your body finds it a lot harder to fall asleep. So don't do that if you want to optimize your sleep. With carbs and protein, however, you can like it's better to have just carbs before your gym session, which is why you see a lot of people having like toast and peanut butter before gym. It's like pretty high carbs, not too high in protein and fats. So pre-training, we want carbs. This could be in the form of fruits. Fruits is super effective, especially banana. Never train on an empty stomach unless you are like experienced like I am, because your body just won't be able to handle the intensity. And you don't know when, like, you don't know your own body that much, so you don't know how hard you can actually push without, like, wanting to kill yourself. Pre training carbs, and then post training, depending on when you train, you can have, well, definitely carbs and protein. But regarding fats, it again depends on how close you are to your sleep. If you, for example, finish training at 5 p.m. and you sleep at 11 p.m., right? That's fine if you have fats. If you finish training at 5 p.m. and you have dinner by 6 p.m. and you finish eating by 6:30, it's a good 4 hours before bed, 4 or 5 hours before bed. That's fine. But if you went to gym at around like 10, if you came back from gym at around 9 p.m. and you go to sleep in 2 hours, I wouldn't recommend having a meal that's high in fats. That's where your typical rice and chicken or rice and lean beef or whatever, that comes in handy. So now we've spoken about nutrition. I think, oh yeah, another things you can take to help increase your like overall energy, muscle building, strength, and how big your muscles look in general is creatine. 5 grams a day for the rest of your life, no questions asked. If anybody says don't take creatine, they're not your friend anymore. If your doctor says don't take creatine, he's not your doctor anymore. Anybody who disagrees with creatine is like your worst enemy. They do not know what they're talking about. They probably listen to like liberal BS about like anybody who says do not take anybody who's against creatine, they probably support Israel. So they're very, very Jewish. You don't want to listen to them. But the creatine, 5 grams a day. But when you are taking creatine, it is super important that you do drink lots of water, at least 3 liters of water. Now, you might be wondering, oh, Island, I don't know how to drink water. Like, I just don't have the habit. And fair, I was like that as well. And so, what you have to do is cordial, sugar free, slash soda maxing. Ideally cordial, because technically you're like putting that cordial into water and that's a little bit healthier for you. But soda maxing is also very, very handy. The point is you got to get into the habit of first just drinking lots and lots of liquid, because if you're not used to drinking even just drink that you like, if you can't chug down a liter of like artificial orange juice, even though it tastes sweet and nice, how the hell are you going to drink 3 liters of water? It doesn't make sense. Unless you're already an athlete who plays a lot of sports and you understand the importance of this. But let's say for the most of us, like I used to be a bit of a gamer, so I'd sit down, I wouldn't actually like move around too much for me to feel like I need to drink water. And one thing that really did help me, especially with the cordial aspect of things, is carry like a big bottle. I'm talking like minimum 750, 800 mils. If you can get like a metal one as well, like a metal big 1 liter ml metal water bottle, that's gonna be great. That is going to be so good for you. Metal water bottles, especially paired up with ice cold water. If you can afford one, get an ice making machine or just prepare ice cubes at your home. Having ice in your water is gonna make it's gonna make your experience with the water so much better. 100%. Wallahi, wallahi, this will make it so much better, bro. I kid you not. Back when I first started drinking water, I had cordial and everything. But what made it nice, especially living in a hot like town, like a hot rural town, was the fact that it had ice. The feeling like the water going down my throat made it addictive. It made it so addictive. And that's how back in 2020, before I even started my gym, I just got into the habit of drinking so much water. And then eventually you can progressively overload yourself to like take out less and less cordial, and so that you're just drinking pure water. You can add in little things afterwards like electrolytes, sugar-free electrolytes, or even just like a pinch of salt for that electrolytes to help you stay hydrated and stuff. That's optional though. But to this day, I still keep it as I still rely on ice. It's something that I don't think I'll ever grow out of, and I don't think I will. I have to, because if it's helping me drink more water, then hell yeah. People might call me weird. Oh, if you got rid of your ice making machine, what would you be? Man, why would I ever lose my ice making machine? If it ever broke down, I'm gonna replace it. $400, $300, I do not care. It's the greatest single investment of your life. Hydration, I cannot emphasize how important hydration is. Like, I need to do a separate course on this. Hydration is your biggest enemy. If you are feeling dumb, if you're feeling retarded, if you just don't feel very social, if you don't feel like thinking, if you feel very angry, just whatever negative experience that you're going through, just ask yourself, have you drank water? I sound like me asking you this, have you drank water? It's like the equivalent of a boyfriend asking his girlfriend whether she's drank water because of her headache that she's experiencing, whatever. But it's true. Have you drank water? No? Go drink some. Have you drank water? Yeah, I drank a liter. Go drink some more. Doesn't matter. Just drink water. Drink water. Go drink water. Pause the video. Go drink some water. You're probably driving if you're watching this video while you're driving. But either way, go drink some water. Another thing, speaking of driving, carry your water bottle around with you. Look like that social autist who just like carries his water bottle around with him everywhere he goes. That's me. That's me. I carry a backpack with me at times. Not because I'm carrying anything special, but literally because I'm carrying my water bottle in it. That's how dedicated I am to drinking water. Drinking water is the best, like one of the best return on investment things that you'll ever make. When you get better at drinking water as well, you'll notice that a lot of your cravings will actually just vanish. And the better you get at drinking this as well, the better you'll understand the better you'll understand hunger. Most of the time, we're not actually hungry; we're just super dehydrated. It's only once you like downed yourself with a liter of water and you still feel hungry, that's when you actually be like, okay, maybe I do need to eat. Another thing you can do is if you do feel these cravings and these hunger symptoms, is ask yourself, if I was hungry, would I go have an apple? Mm, I don't want an apple, but I'm still hungry. No, you're bored. You're bored, bro. No, that's for my paid course. I was going to talk about what to do if you're bored and you're stress eating. That's for my paid course. But sorry to be a Jew. But this is the nutrition side of things. We have covered quite a lot. I just notice how it gets bigger and bigger. It's so funny. Training side of things. Okay. Let's have a look, ladies. This is where the good meaty stuff is. Your first 2-3 months of training while we are on this cut is going to be actually moderately low intense. Yeah, with your training, you can train however many days you want, honestly. You know your body, well, you may or may not know your body decently, but it depends on your recovery. You know, after the first 2 weeks of training, you're like, man, I'm too sore. Even 2-3 days after your training, it's not optimal. See, like the first time you hit any muscle, it's always going to be sore. But let's say 2-3 weeks, you're hitting the same muscle group again for like the third, fourth time, and you try to hit it again 2 days later, and you're still in pain. That's something you got to change something up, man. So doesn't matter what you train. You could do what push, pull, legs, where it's like alternating. So push, rest, pull, rest, legs, rest, and so on. You could do upper, lower, rest, upper, lower. That's completely fine as well. You could do full body 3 times a week. Don't do a bro split. A bro split, it's so. Bro splits are essentially chest one day, back another day, shoulders another day, legs one day, arms another day. It's so inefficient. It's going to be one of the most inefficient workouts ever made. You can also do the opposite of push pull legs, where it's like chest and biceps, back and triceps, and legs. Totally fine. Doesn't matter. The point is, no matter what of these you choose, there'll always be those exercises that you gotta choose as well. And you'll see so many videos on YouTube or on TikTok or on Instagram that are like, this is the most optimal exercise for you guys to follow. Do optimal. Don't do this. Do this one. Buy my paid program, guys. But like, if you want to get more gains, you should buy my program. I mean, like, do it's all BS. Honestly, as a PT, I can tell you that there's only maybe like 2 or 3 exercises that you should just genuinely avoid because of how garbage they are. Let me show them to you right now. One of them is like the tricep dumbbell kickback. I don't know if you see it, but there's people on a bench. Garbage. They're pointless. Start all over again. But in my opinion, from my own personal growth and development, I found training between 6 to 10 reps with a heavy weight is good. But because you're a beginner, being able to train with this kind of like reps would require you to train with like heavier weights. Don't get me wrong, when you do get used to this, heavy weights, right? Heavy weights. When you can train 6 to 10 reps with heavy weights, it feels amazing. It feels good. It feels I love training it. The only reason I don't do it it's more is because I was doing when I was bulking like really solid on my bulk, and I just got weaker eventually as I'm on this cut. But let's say for you, if you stick to something that's between 8 to 12 reps or even like 15, it really doesn't matter. It's like when you go above 15, that's when it's like, okay, can I just increase the weight? But with 8 to 15 reps, you're able to like control the weight a lot better. This is something you should do while you're cutting at the moment and when you're getting used to the gym, so there's less chance of like you injuring yourself. But either way, the weight selection is the most important part. Ideally, for all of your weights, let's say for example, we only allow ourselves to work in the 8 to 12 rep range. All of your sets should be hitting close to failure. They should be hitting what we call 2 RIR. RIR is essentially reps in reserve. So for example, if 12 is my max, let's say for example, let's say if 12 reps would be absolute failure, like I literally cannot do another rep, I would do 2 reps before that. So that'd be 10 reps. 10 reps for a lot of my sets, every set. If you go below 10 reps, it's like you could push a lot harder. Yeah, you might grow a little bit more muscle, right? But you want to feel good. You personally, you want to see progress fast. You want to be able to stay motivated. You want to feel like you can leave the gym feeling like you did something. So, like, you got to push a little bit harder than you actually anticipate in the gym. On your last couple sets, you will be doing failure. Let's say, for example, you did 3 sets of biceps, and biceps would typically be one of the last exercises you do. You want to hit failure on the last set. Now, you hitting failure, like if this is a bit too complicated for you, you don't have to worry about hitting failure and everything. As long as you can do this rule for everything. The first time you do these exercises, it is going to be a bit hard to tell because you won't know what your maximum is. You don't know what your capacity is. You have to sort of experiment with this. And one thing that I would heavily recommend throughout this entire process is to use like a weight tracking app. Now, it doesn't require you to like log your weights in an Excel sheet. That's gay as hell. Use them on a kind of app. Ones that I like to use are Liftoff. Especially if you're a gamer, this one's really good. It gives your exercises and your weights like a rank. So every time you increase the weight or the reps of an exercise, you get like a higher and higher rank, and it becomes one more fun. But if you also want like just better interface, like user interface, Heavy HEVY is also very very good. That's what I give to most of my clients. If my clients play video games, I just give them Lift Off. It's way more fun. But either way, when you do eventually do your first 2 exercises, well, let's say you do push twice, you do upper body twice. Now you have an idea of like what your capacity is. That's when you can start hitting your reps and reserves, and that's when you can also maybe hit failure sets, drop sets, and supersets. These, if you don't know, drop sets are similar to failure, but after you hit failure, you reduce the weight and you keep pushing harder until you do hit failure again. For example, if I'm doing bicep curls, I'm doing 10 kilos, I do until I literally can't do anymore. I drop the weight and then I pick up 8s, do as many as I can, drop the weight, pick up 6s, drop the weight, and so on. I've had mixed opinions on it, but for you, because you're cutting, don't do it at the moment. Supersets are basically when you do 2 exercises back to back without any rest. Supersets, they should be exercises that are not the same. What that means is if I'm doing bicep curls, I'm not going to superset that with hammer curls, like 2 bicep exercises. I can superset bicep curls with tricep ones. Now, whether it's actually going to help us build more muscle, whether it's optimal, not entirely. It's not like it's not like as soon as you start doing supersets, you stop getting muscle. No, but you do save a lot of time, and I think for a lot of us, when we do start our journey, we aren't able to dedicate much time to it because we're learning a lot. We have busy lives. We may not actually find the gym so motivating. We want to just get in and get out. Completely fine as well. So if you can learn, if you're doing any kind of supersets, you want to do them in the middle of your workout or at the end of your workout, not at the start. Now, one thing I do want to tell you guys is the order of exercises. This is very important. Ideally, whenever you do any kind of routine, you want to start with your bigger muscles first. This includes your chest, back, and legs. Then your medium muscles are like and glutes. Legs are a little bit harder to explain, but with like your upper body, it's pretty straightforward. Your medium muscles are essentially your shoulders, all 3 heads, and maybe even your traps. Then your smaller muscles are like your bis, tris, and then the extras. This is what I call extras. You can always do them at the end of your workout. There's no point doing them there is a point if you want to do it, personal preference, but if you want to like quote unquote optimize your routine, this is what you do it at the end. This is your abs. This is your forearms and your neck. Neck training is very important. I'll explain why in this video or later. So the reason why we don't do the abs and forearms are pretty self-explanatory. if we do forearms first thing in the workouts, we're not going to have enough grip strength to do any of the other exercises. And similar to abs as well, we need our core engaged. We need to like have a decent amount of core strength in us to actually push hard in the other exercises. Now, when it comes to now, you might be wondering, all right, Alien, if I'm doing, for example, chest, and I have like 3 chest exercises, which ones do I do first? Now, good question. You want to do the hardest ones first. Now, what is the hardest ones? Always go with the compound. The compounds are like your barbell exercises, like bench press, squats, deadlifts, and so on. Then you want to go to your dumbbell exercises. So this could be incline dumbbell press, decline dumbbell press. I don't know who would do that. Chest, yeah, basically need a kind of dumbbell press for the chest. Maybe dumbbell flies if you want to do that. Then your isolateral exercises. So I'm not sure if you guys have these at your gym, but it's the ones where you can. It's like very close, similar to the machine exercises, like a machine chest press, except when you push one arm, it only moves one arm as compared to the machine. If you move one arm, both arms come up. So these are like your third ranking exercises, and then obviously fourth place would be your machine. So like your machine chest press, machine flies, machine thingies. Cables would be in between here. Sorry, I forgot to mention. Cables would be here. And you can use this rule of thumb for. Sorry, no, I would actually argue against that. Cables are closer to machines. I would put them in between here. So he goes compounds first, then dumbbells, then isolaterals, then cables, and then machines. Do it in this movement for all of your exercises, and then you'll be sweet. Let's have a look at now what's next. Now, in regards to how many sets you should do for each exercise, don't overcomplicate it. You should just do 2 to 3. That's it. That's honestly it. Rest time, 2 minutes every exercise. Maybe with your bigger exercises like your barbells, 3 minutes. Keep it simple. Don't even worry about it. Let's see, what else have I missed? With your recovery, right? Let's say if you do push, you're going back to this list. Think of it like going back to this list, right? Some muscles require more rest than others. Your bigger muscles require at least 3 days of rest. So if I train chest on Monday, I will need to rest on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I can train again on Thursday. All of these ones. Now, the medium exercises, your shoulders, traps, and even like all of these ones, like all your medium, small, and extras, you only need like 2 days rest. So if I train them on Monday, I can go again on Wednesday. But if you feel like you're too sore and they're not actually fully recovered, take another day of break. It won't be that big of a deal, honestly. That is training. With regarding the actual exercise selection, right? You can download one of these apps that I mentioned. It'll give you just like a random routine that you can follow. Just follow that routine for now. You can experiment and look at these TikTok exercises later if you want to, but at least you have something to follow. And no matter what routine that you follow, as long as you follow with intensity, given that you have enough time, you're going to see changes in your muscle. Unless your what you call routine was written by ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is a funny one because if you use ChatGPT, your routine's going to be horrible, diabolical. It's not going to help. If I use ChatGPT, it's going to be perfect for me. And you might be thinking there's a bit of hypocrisy, like, oh, you're just trying to sell us into this course. I mean, I kind of am, but like, that's the reason why I'm making this video. But the reason why I say that is because you, as the beginner, you don't understand like what is good, what is BS, and what's not. Whereas I've done this for 5 years. I know if ChatGPT is spitting me some BS, I just wanted to optimize my routine, and I'm like, wait a minute. And if it gives me something that's BS, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? What are you doing here? It's the same way how like if you got ChatGPT to give you like a gamer's guide or whatever, and you asked it to make a game like a new gamer's guide for a beginner, it might say some BS thing. Let's say for example it's Apex or like Fortnite, and ChatGPT is gonna be like, oh, make sure you only use walls and floors, not the ramps. Ramps are bad. Now, a beginner, because they trust ChatGPT, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I believe that. Whereas you, as the expert in the game, you're going to be like, what the hell? You get what I'm saying? So, as a beginner, Don't trust ChatGPT. You won't be able to pick up on what is right or what is wrong. Just trust what I say, and you'll be fine. Now we've covered this. If as long as you do the calorie deficit for, like we mentioned here, for 2-3 months, and you're training hard in the gym 2-3 months, you should be able to see. On top of that, you're doing like other things, like you're drinking your water, 10K steps a day, sleeping 7 to 8 hours. I can make separate courses on that later. But as long as you're not being a retard and you're actually doing all those things, you will be fine. You will see fat loss. And if you do the 500 calorie deficit, which actually I forgot to come here. We're going to the 500 calorie deficit for 1 month. Once we are used to actually cutting down hard on that many calories, where is the calculations? We are going to reduce or make our calorie deficit slightly bigger. We're going to push it to from 500 to 800 calorie deficit. And this is where we really accelerate things. So now per week, we are burning 8,007. My math is a bit cooked right now. 5,600 calories. 5,600 calories, which is nearly 0.75 kilograms of fat lost a week. Your energy levels when you are in an extreme deficit will lose. It is the more of a deficit you go on, the more important it is that you do hit your protein goals, because you are more susceptible to muscle loss. See, the body's a little bit autistic in a way that when we do lose, like go into calorie deficits and everything, obviously it'll lose away from the fat, sure, until like 20, 25, like 25, 20, 18% body fat. Then after that, it starts relying more on burning your muscle mass for some reason, because your muscle mass, your muscles, they burn a lot of energy. They require a lot of energy to maintain. And so the body's thinking, if I can burn away that, then I won't have to, I won't be burning, won't be needing that high of a maintenance. So we need to protect that at all costs, because we need our furnace alive to actually burn away the fat. That's why we also try to build as much muscle as possible, because when we do build as much muscle as possible, we raise our metabolism. Our metabolism gets faster, which is going to help us lose that belly fat faster as well. So now by the end of the 2 months, I'm up to 45 minutes. Damn, okay. Long video. I'm going to cut this short a bit. Now we're up to 45 minutes. We are going to go on a bulk. You've already built the habits of a bulk. You've already built the habits of like training, dieting, and everything. To go on a bulk, you have to be even more disciplined, which is why we go on a cut first. Because if you went on a bulk first to try and build some muscle, you just get fat, bro. Knowing you, there's a reason why you're skinny fat. It's because you had no discipline in the first place. You had no self-control. You had nothing. And so why we made you actually cut first is so that you can see the fruits of your labor. You can see why it's all worth it. You can see that if you actually stick to something for long enough, you're going to see some good progress. For the bulk, when it comes to your calories, you only want to be 200-300 above. If I'm 2,500 calories, like I mentioned earlier, I'm only going to be consuming maximum 2,800 calories. These people out there that are like eating 3,000, 4,000 calories are absolute retards. Don't do it like that. The extra, your body only needs an extra 200-300 calories to actually put on more muscle. Anything after that is more likely just going to be turned into fat. I'm telling you from experience, and I'm telling you from what I've seen. Don't go on those stupidly like Lizzo type bulks. It's not going to serve you in any way. I know it's very tempting. I know you want to be able to give yourself a bit of like chance to binge, have more calories, be like, oh guys, I'm bulking, I'm putting on more mass, when really you're not actually putting on mass. You're just putting on fat, and it just makes your future cut a lot longer. The thing is, when you are on a bulk, you want to keep your diet nearly entirely the same, in the sense that you're still eating good and healthy. You may have like 1 or 2 cheat meals every now and then because you're going out with the mates and stuff like that. But if you're having like a packet of chips and just binging all of that, that's a deeper issue, bro. Like that's like deprivation. But in terms of like how many grams of protein you should be consuming, I wanted to bring back to our last one. I deleted it earlier, but you want to be having 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if I weigh 70 kilos, I would be having, let's say, double that, 140, and then maybe subtract a little bit. So around like 135 grams. Maybe even a little bit less, honestly. 1.5, close to that. Now you might be wondering, what the hell, Alian? we literally just had the same amount of grams of protein, and now we're having an additional money, like 1,000 more calories, like 500 to 1,000 more calories than we were previously having. Yeah. And what do you do with those extra calories? Guess. More carbs. Yippee! We're having more carbs, baby. And on top of that, we're having more fats as well. Good, wholesome fats. You can have more protein if you want, right? To actually like make yourself feel full, so you don't eat out like a pig. But naturally, when you're on a bulk, your body only needs like a specific amount of like grams of protein because it's no longer trying to eat away its own muscle mass. It's in a surplus. It has plenty of energy. And so, what you do need to do with the carbs is basically make sure that your muscles are full of. I'm going to break down the science very easy. Carbs, good. Lots of carbs in body feel energized. How the body feel energized? Very simple, but carbs enter muscle. When carbs in muscle, carbs like sponge pull in water, more water in muscle, more water in muscle look bigger, more carbs in body in muscle means more energy, more ATP in muscle, more power, more energy. Very good. Now carb also help protein in building muscle. If no carb in muscle after workouts, no energy to build muscle. Protein, yes, very important, needed for building muscle, but carb lay foundation. Protein, bricks, carb, foundation. Carb help build more muscle. I hope that explained it to you as if you had CTE, but that is why we need to like actually carb max. And this is something I wish I knew like way long ago because I used to think carbs were the enemy. You know, actually could build muscle, can build muscle without carbs or anything. Want it to be so woke, bro. Um, that is all. You're with your training because you have more energy. You could probably bump up the days, add more sets, add more volumes. Make it fun, man. The point of training, all of this, is to just make it as fun as possible for you. If you are not workouts, you need to change them. And if you're not recovering fast enough with your workouts, there's something wrong in that you need to adjust. If you're having to like constantly reduce the weights, then there will be some days where, let's say, if you're pushing 10 kilos with dumbbell curls on one day, the next day you might only be able to do like 9 kilos for the same amount of reps, or like you might be able to do 10 kilos but with like less reps, less forms. And that happens. You can have like bad sleep, more stress, bad food, whatever. But if you're consistently dropping the weight on a bulk, it's a very big sign that you're either not recovering well enough and that you may need to change your program. And honestly, even if you go down to just literally 3 days a week of training, that is still good because at least any kind of stimulation on the muscle will eventually grow. Any kind of stimulation with the correct amount of intensity will grow the muscle. It's just the more times you hit the muscle group, well, later on, the more likely you are to actually activate the growth phase, the growth stimulation in that muscle. So, very important that you do know that. What else do we have to cover? With that being said, you want to go on this bulk for another 8 months, maybe long time, like a decent amount of time until, even if you do feel a little bit fat, just if you feel like you're gaining too much fat from the routine, let's say it's happening after 5 out of the 8 months that you feel like you're getting way too fat, just chop down the calories a little bit, go on like maintenance for a bit, or go slightly under maintenance, like 2400. Then you can like just sort of drop down a bit of the fat to make yourself feel a little bit better. You will feel a bit bloated at times, which is why having high potassium foods and just drinking lots of water can help. Because naturally, when there are more carbs in your water, you hold on to a lot more. When there's more carbs in your body, you hold on to water a lot more, right? So you get greater water retention and everything. You may notice that when you do eggs, like when you do finish your cut and you go in a bulk, your weight will jump up suddenly and you might think, oh no, was that fat? No, what the hell? When it really wasn't the case. It's just water weight. It's just the glycogen entering your body. To give you a perspective, right? 1 gram of glycogen is essentially broken down carbs, will attract 3 grams of water. So every day when you are having, well, earlier we were having like 250 grams of carbs. Now we're probably having close to 300 to 400 grams, right? Let's say if we're having 300 grams of carbs, that's already 300 grams of weight added on every day. Plus, with the water that we're having, 3 times 300 is 900 grams of water, well, milliliters of water, which is 1.2 kilograms added every day. Obviously, you will be peeing some of it away and everything, but I'm not trying to get down to logistics here. I'm trying to show you that when you do go on a bulk, you will gain a lot of water weight. You will feel a little bit puffier. You will feel a little less sexier, and that's completely fine because at the stage we're trying to optimize our bulk. And again, you're gonna go in this bulk for 8 months. If you feel like you're gaining way too much fat, like around the second or third month, that's when you feel like you're getting way fatter than you would have thought. That's when you probably haven't been tracking accurately and you're actually having close to 3,000 calories, a little bit higher. Because realistically, right, we do give ourselves like a 200-300 calorie surplus, but let's just assume for this case, 1 to 200 of those calories were like used to build muscles. So that leaves us with like an extra 100 calories every day, which is 700 calories per week as fats. And 700 divided by 7,700 is literally like 1/11th. So like 90 grams of fat added every week. And do that for a month, you might get 350 grams of fat. Sorry, 360. You do that for 8 months. So now you've gained maybe 2 to 3 kilograms of fats throughout the entire bulking process. In 8 months, you gain 2 to 3 kilograms of fat, and that's the same. And you might think that's a lot, but on our cuts, when we were going at a moderate or like a lighter cut at 500 calories a week, we were burning 7,000 or like a kilogram of fat in just 2 weeks. So don't be discouraged by this. You can definitely very easily lose the weight back because you've already built the habits of going on a cut. So essentially, when you do go on to this bulk, you put on the weight. Maybe this may number actually increase though. Let's be realistic. It might be 4 to 5. 4 to 5 for like differences and stuff. After that, when you have put on that muscle, you're going to go on another cut, maybe 2-3 months to reveal the muscle. Same strategy as we used here, like a moderate cut, ease into the cut. If you try to go suddenly, drop your calories down to 800, your body will fire back. It's like you're taking a toy away from your kid. They're not going to like it. They may settle down after a bit, but you're trying to make this as easy as possible for yourself. Go down to 500 calories. Even like just by at the end of your bulk, you're right now sitting at like 27 to 2,800 calories. If you were me, I would like 1 week before my bulk would finish, I would drop the weight calories down a little bit, like 2,600, 2,400, 2,200, 2,000, and so on. It's like a gradual process, so it doesn't feel like absolute hell. I think, and then once you do go into this cut, you're going to aim in 2-3 months, you're going to aim to lose roughly 5 or 6 kilograms of fat. You may end up losing 7 to 10 kilograms of weight because that's also including water weight and so on, and maybe just a tiny bit of muscle, considering just. And then again, you go into this bulk again, but maybe slightly less calories. So we're going on like a slight maintenance phase. Maintenance means we're just eating 2,500 calories because we're also burning 2,500 calories. So technically we're at like a net zero, but we're going just slightly above it, like 2,600 calories. With that being said, you'll barely be gaining any fat. Your body will have enough energy to like just build enough muscle gradually and slowly because muscle building is hard. The average amount of muscle that you will build in 1 week is like, sorry, in 1 week, what am I saying? In 3 months, the average amount of muscle you will build is 1 kilogram. 1 kilogram throughout your entire body is how much muscle you're averagely going to build. For beginners, it might be 2 kilograms, but for most people afterwards, it's only 1 kilogram. Either way, this is the full skinny fat guide that you're going to follow for the next 2 months. 2 years, sorry. Starting off with your cut, 500 calories a day for a month. Sorry, a 500 calorie deficit for a month. High protein, high carbs, and carb cycling. High carbs on training days, low carbs on non-training days. Fats stay the same. Then you go into an 7 to 800 calorie deficit. That's when we speed things up for the next 2 months, 1 or 2 months, and we see the fat loss coming fast. Now you have abs. Now you have shredded arms, shredded veins, and that's considering if you do this properly. Obviously, most of us aren't even disciplined enough, but it's up to you whether you want to change that or not about yourself. Are you going to be the disciplined person who will watch the end of this video and not take action on it, or are you actually going to start downloading this app, the which is called MyFitnessPal app. Start and buy a metal water bottle, download the Lift Off app, and do these exercises. And once you finish the cut, you go into the bulk, a slight surplus of 200-300 calories, and then you go back for 8 months, higher carbs, less like moderate protein, 120, 130 grams. Then you go into a cut again, 2-3 months, reduce the fat that you gained during the bulk and maybe a little bit more. And then you go into bulk again for another 2-3 months. And then afterwards, you can maintain, go into maintenance, and just do what we call recomp. The other alternative of this was definitely recomp, where you go on a slight calorie deficit of 200-300 calories, which is what I usually preach on my Instagram. But the issue with that is because most of us are autists who are desperate and hungry for actually seeing some sort of results. And if this is you, this is the best way to see results as fast as possible without actually losing your mind or staying stagnant. I really hope this video helped you guys. I'm so glad I was able to make this for you. I will be posting more of these guides in the future regarding not just skinny fat, but meditation. No meditation. You don't need an hour-long guide on meditation, but training, sleep, supplements, and everything. Do share this with a friend who is skinny fat or just is a chud in general and they need to get their lives in check. But thank you so much for watching. I'm really grateful that you guys stayed till the end. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. Take care.